supermarket to help the Save Mortdale Village group. My background is on a town planning lawyer. What I want to show you first is a video by an expert town planner in retail planning, because what he'll describe is really poor planning outcome for Mortdale, which will affect you all, and then I'll talk to you more generally about planning. The thoughts I'm going to talk about are things written on the wall, which essentially encapsulate some of the issues, in fact most of the issues that I've already discussed with you, around what's wrong with this proposal under the Mortdale Masterplan. Just get my glasses. The reason it's a video is because, unfortunately, not all.
Hello everybody, apologies for not being able to be there, complete stuff up on my part. But let me take you through the propositions in front of you that have come in the form of a number of documents. So the foundation document, where all the sort of number imposition on Mortdale occurs, is this document. It's Hill PDA Economic Study. And it says the Mortdale catchment is about 10,800 people, projecting to grow by 1,000 to 2036. But out of this figure, we get a number of 6,600 square metres of new commercial floor space. And we'll go through the lack of logic in that particular projection. The first thing we should do, though, is look at the capacity of the centre if we were developing it today. So if we were developing a centre for a catchment of 11,800 people, we would probably feasibly develop between 6,000 and 7,000 square metres of retail and commercial floor space. That's all we can make work under current market conditions. You have over 20,000 square metres in Mortdale now, so you've got the benefit of buildings that were built way before the need for the sort of thresholds to get that kind of floor space working.
I just want to stop there because it's a really important number. You've got 20,000 square metres of retail and commercial space in Mortdale already, but the population in Mortdale, that's way over. If you're building Mortdale again today, you have that 78,000, so you can triple already. They want to add another 6,600 square metres, so they want to raise it again by a significant number. One of the problems which has already been spoken to by David and by Peter is that Mortdale is a bit like an island. You have no main roads coming in, only little roads. When I first started coming to Mortdale, I got lost twice. Started coming from Georgia. That means if you're going to be adding 6,600 square metres of free space, where are the customers going to come from? Mortdale already is overserviced by retail. They're going to come from outside. So the roads drawing into Mortdale can only get more busy, in addition to the fact that the Masterplan is proposing a lot more people in Mortdale.
And so you're punching above your weight. In other words, you've got a whole lot more retail than you can make work today. That has implications for how you grow and the amount of floor space that you can handle in that growth. That particular assessment hasn't been done in the PDA report. So their approach is to incrementally increase centres floor space across Georges River to 2036 in relation to growth. But they ignore the fact that you're already punching above your weight. So Council's local housing strategy suggests that there's only 55 dwellings within the local centre. So we have 10 sites. For instance, there's only 5 on each site, so that's quite low. That's not an onerous, in my view, an onerous obligation on the centre. In the Council's economic strategy, there's no employment projections for Mortdale. It comes later than this from the Hill PDA report, which is carried through into these other documents. So if we took your current provision of floor space as a benchmark, you're currently getting or delivering around 1.9 square metres per person in commercial and retail floor space in Mortdale. So if we take that forward, just that particular ratio, which is high anyway, you'd only want 1,900 square metres more space. But the master plan seeks 6.6 square metres per person. And the commercial centre strategy pretty much adopts that. It just simply takes the Hill PDA figure without comment.
Can I speak to that? The Hill PDA report, which is the report which basically underlines everything that's happening in relation to commercial development of Mortdale, says 6,600 square metres is needed. Ignores that you've already got 20,000. It ignores what the numbers say, and then it gets adopted into everything else afterwards. So it starts to become a self-fulfilling prophecy, although it is not actually based on any proper analysis. Okay.
Into its analysis. And that 6,000 square metres, by the way, is not justified by any analysis in the Hill PDA report or in this strategy. And it suggests that there's a pre-existing floor space play. So the question is, by who? The local centre Masterplan simply accepts the commercial centre strategy, which again is based on the Hill PDA assessment, and then goes about finding space to apply that floor space. But from a planning point of view, the first principle of planning is that we support the economic capacity of the existing centres. So if you see the top diagram, we would want zoning to just sort of bleed off the edges along Mort's Road, as opposed to finding other places for it to go, which can then fragment the centre. So at the moment, the majority of floor space is heading down Macquarie Place and Pitt Street.
This is the world that I know really well because I'm involved in the development of new supermarkets all the time. Shopping centres function well and are vibrant as long as all the shops are as close to each other as possible. The moment you start pushing them out to the edge, the centre starts to fail and you end up with the corporate in-house retail, which you don't end up with good centres, and you also end up with vacancies, like lots of centres where this is happening. What's proposed in the Mortdale Masterplan? I've got a picture over here, it's easy to see. This is Mort's Road. That's Macquarie and Pitt. And what's proposed under the plan is to push out retail that way and that way, away from the main street. And what Mike is talking about here is if you're doing it normally to support the centre, which is Mort's Road, you allow more retail development adjoining Mort's Road behind it. That'd be the normal way you do it. You wouldn't be pushing it away from the streets, because what it ends up happening is what's already been attempted on the RSL side, they've already lost a proposal to build a lot of buildings in a 14-storey building, which would actually allow a very large shopping centre underneath. They haven't applied on that, but if the Mortdale Master Plan goes through with development going far out that way, they're able to, and they will.
So not those options. Another zoning principle is you never end a zone on a street, because across the street you have completely opposing land use. So they're all the no-go signs showing where the zone applies on one side of the street and not the other. So it's a pretty ordinary proposition. And you would only extend the zone at the extreme edges of the centre of it if it's inspired a positive economic and social response. In other words, you take the zone somewhere and you want things around it to change meaningfully and positively as a consequence of the zone extension. What we end up with if we head down to the Strand is we have reverse sensitivity, and we have also an issue in terms of its connectivity and relationship with Mort's Road, the main spine.
I can't stand it when town planners start talking about zoning principles because it's complicated technical planning language. What he's saying in plain English is you want to make the centre grow and be vibrant, so you put shops as close together as possible. That's what he's actually saying by saying the master plan doesn't meet those principles. It's actually undermining the success of this.
The centre. So, retail and one-way pairs. So, Macquarie.
I'll talk to this because I can understand where you're going. Currently, in Macquarie are one-way streets. It's really bad planning principles to allow development of new retail, which is what's proposed under the master plan, to go on streets that are one-way, because it actually doesn't work. What it's also saying is when you do retail
about to one head inside. So you likely have an internally based commercial and retail proposition. And this sort of takes the view, so council within the zoning approach have A and B. You can see that they sit around Mort's Road, and that's an entirely appropriate approach. The difference with the one that sits to the south, which is C, is that it inspires and supports nothing and potentially competes with things on Mort's Road. The further difficulty with that is that when you look at the implementation capacity of each of these zones, you have multiple ownerships along Mort's Road on each side where A and B are, but also along Macquarie Place that is proposed to, that the zone is proposed to go. But you have a single ownership at C, and so the issue then becomes very easy for C to develop, but very difficult for everything else to develop. So the likely consequence of that is that C will go, the rest won't go. They'll sit there for many years, possibly decades before they, if indeed they do ever convert, because you've got more retail and commercial floor space than you can logically support. And so you end up with this big sore thumb at the end of Macquarie Place that acts contrary to supporting the district centres.
An example I always quote, because I couldn't believe it when I saw it, is Taree. You'd have thought just being down the back of the pit and Macquarie wouldn't be too far away. Most people won't walk 50 metres unless they're forced to, particularly with shopping. Taree built a very large Woolworths shopping centre on the other side of the car park behind the shops. It was essentially next to the shops, but it was a good 70, 80 metres the other side of the car park. 80% of the shops in Taree have been vacant for 5 years. That's what happens when you do poor retail planning.
The Mort's Road Centre, that's essentially in a nutshell what you're facing. So in my view, it's not good planning, and you guys need to activate yourself, as I'm sure you are, in order to try and stop it. That's all from me.
Okay. The Mortdale Village Group asked me to help you understand what it is you can do to stop this process. When you write a letter of objection, that's what we're asking you to do before you do today. It's important to have proper grounds. And the proper grounds you can include in that letter. We put on posters around the wall. There's 4 different versions. Nearly all of the matters in those posters have already been discussed with you by Peter or by the other speakers today. And I was going to just quickly go through again so that if you want to ask me questions, do. Firstly, 2019, the council conducted engagement to find out what it was you wanted. And the key messages was you didn't want high-rise, you don't want to look like coastal, you do like 3-storey unit blocks if they've got gardens around them, and you do want lower density townhouses and duplexes. Conventional good outcomes from Mortdale. The next exhibition of this exact master plan was done during lockdown last year. Aaron, tell me your